In the beginning of the story, we see a man named Andy who was accused of murder. He tried a lot to prove his innocence, but despite that, he was sentenced to 2 life imprisonments, which means that now he will remain in jail for 40 years. Due to this punishment, he was sent to Shawshank Jail, which was considered a very dangerous jail in the whole country. On the other hand, in the jail, an interview of a murderer named Red was going on, according to which it would be decided whether he would get bail or not. Till now, Red had spent 20 years in that jail, and even after all his efforts, he had not gotten bail to date, after which he was ready to live his life in jail again. At the same time, some new prisoners were brought into the jail, among whom Andy was also present. Seeing those new prisoners, all the prisoners started betting on who would cry first among them, on which Red put his money on Andy. But that night, because of Andy, another prisoner started crying loudly. On hearing his voice, Captain Hadley reached there immediately with his companions. Actually, Hadley enjoyed beating prisoners, and that night he beat that prisoner mercilessly for several hours. After some days, Andy came to know that Red could bring things from outside inside the jail, and that is why he went to meet Red one day. Now, Andy wanted Red to arrange a brick-breaking hammer for him. Red thought that maybe Andy was going to use it to escape from the jail, but Andy refused outright. Afterward, Red agreed to do this work and told Andy to be careful of a gang named Sisters, whose leader, Boggs, used to harass the prisoners every day. In the initial days of his imprisonment, Andy used to spend most of his time washing clothes or fighting with the Sisters. But despite this, Andy and Red became friends. They both started spending most of their time talking to each other, and as soon as the recruitment for roofing work started, Red used some tricks and called Andy and his other friends to his place. One day, while working, Andy heard that Hadley had to pay a lot of tax this time, due to which he was very worried. Now, before coming here, Andy was a banker, so using his mind, he told him how he could avoid paying this tax and also said, "Why are you filing it yourself? I will file your ITR." But in return, he wanted chilled beer for his friends, for which Hadley was not ready at first, but seeing Andy's sharp mind, he agreed. With time, Andy made his hold very strong in the jail. After some time, he came to Red with another strange demand, and this time he wanted posters of an actress named Rita Hayworth, for which Red immediately agreed. The next day, the Sisters group attacked Andy once again, but this time, instead of getting scared, Andy started threatening Boggs, due to which both Boggs and his companions got scared. But before releasing Andy, they beat him a lot, due to which Boggs was locked alone in a dark room for a month. And as soon as he came out, Hadley attacked him so fiercely that Boggs became disabled forever. On the other hand, when Andy returned from the jail hospital, Red and his companions gifted him some stones and a poster of the same actress, Rita. On the other hand, the jail warden Samuel also came to know about Andy's sharp mind, and one day, on the pretext of investigation, he came to meet Andy. Samuel was very happy to see Andy reading the Bible, and nothing was found during the investigation. The next day, Andy came to know that he was now going to work with a prisoner named Brooks in the jail library, and in return, he was going to help the policemen save taxes. Soon, he got the idea of making the jail library bigger, and after consulting the warden, he wrote letters to the government and asked for money for this. Slowly, Andy started becoming famous in the nearby jails, and now he was helping the warden plan his retirement. One day, suddenly, something happened to Brooks. Brooks was usually very calm, but one day, suddenly, he caught hold of a prisoner and started shouting at everyone. At first, everyone was shocked, but then they understood that Brooks's sentence was actually ending, and after spending 50 years of his life in jail, he was scared of going to the outside world. After explaining to Brooks, Andy told Red about this incident. He said that these prison walls are very strange, which initially rushed to bite, but later the prisoners themselves become dependent on them. On the other hand, after a few days, Brooks was released from the prison, but even after coming out, he was not able to forget the prison, and now he found this outside world very fast, in which it was very difficult for him to adjust. He still tried to work in a shop, but even there he was not able to understand the behavior of the people, due to which his problems kept increasing, and then one day, Brooks could not bear this change anymore. On the other hand, Andy had spent 6 years in prison, and one day, due to the letters written by him, the prison finally got money to expand its library. And they were given some old books and posters. While looking at them, Andy came across a CD of a very famous song, and now he wanted to make all the prisoners listen to that song. That is why he and his friends locked the warden in the bathroom and played this song on the jail speakers. As soon as the warden heard the sound, the most dreaded prisoner became very quiet. But because of this act of Andy, he was put alone in a dark room for 2 weeks. After completing his 30 years in jail, Red once again went for his parole interview, but like every time, his attempt also failed. To improve his mood, Andy gifted him a poster. The government had now increased the library budget many times, which Andy wanted to use very well to build a great library, which he was going to name after his friend Brooks. Now, Andy had started teaching other prisoners too, so that after coming out of jail, they all could have good jobs. On the other hand, Warden Samuel was taking advantage of Andy's brain and becoming richer day by day. He also started using prisoners as labor. To hide Samuel's black money, Andy had opened accounts in different banks, and all these accounts belonged to a man named Randall, who was actually nobody. This was done so that if the police investigated, they would suspect Randall and not the warden. After a few years, a prisoner named Tony came to the jail to serve a sentence of just 2 years. Tony was of a very cheerful nature, due to which he soon became friends with Andy and Red. One day, Tony asked Andy for help to complete his high school degree, for which Andy immediately agreed. After working hard for several months, Tony was finally all set for his exam, but in the middle of the exam, he got angry and threw his answer sheet in the dustbin. However, Andy took out the answer sheet and sent it to the education board. After the exam, during a conversation, Tony told Andy that in another jail, he had met a man who had blamed an innocent banker for the murder of a golfer and his girlfriend. On hearing his words, Andy understood that the innocent banker of this incident was none other than himself. Andy immediately went to the warden and demanded a new trial for himself, in which he wanted Tony to be made a witness. However, Samuel was afraid that if Andy got out, he would lose his benefits, and that is why he flatly refused and locked Andy in a dark room for a month. After a few days, Tony also got his high school degree, after which he was taken out of the jail, where Hadley killed him so that he could not help Andy. Samuel went to Andy and told him about Tony's death, but he claimed that Tony was shot while escaping from the jail. Andy was not ready to believe this, and now he even refused to help the warden. The warden threatened him that if he did so, he would close the jail library forever. After coming out of that dark room, when Andy met Red, he told him about his love and family, how he got separated from his wife due to his passion for work, and that is why he considered himself responsible for his wife's death. Along with this, Andy told him that now he has only one dream: to get out of this jail somehow and reach a beach in Mexico, where he can start his life afresh. He also called Red to come with him and told him the address of a special place where he had hidden something. He wanted Red to visit that place after coming out of jail. The next day, Andy started working for Samuel again, which made Red very worried. Then he came to know that Andy had asked the other prisoners to arrange a 6-foot-long rope, and on hearing this, Red got very scared. The next morning, when Andy did not come for attendance, it was found out after some time that he had escaped from jail. Actually, he had made a cave with the help of a rock hammer, which he had covered with the poster of that actress. He used to fill the soil coming out of the wall in his pocket and empty it on the ground. Last night, Andy had kept many important papers and books of the warden in a bag, which he took with him. Meanwhile, when Samuel and his companions were searching for Andy, at the same time, Andy went to all the banks under the warden's name and withdrew all the money by posing as Randall. He also sent the evidence of the warden's black deeds to a media house, after which there was a stir everywhere due to the warden's deeds. Hadley was arrested for Tony's murder, and his other companions were also caught. But as soon as the police reached the warden to catch him, he shot himself dead. After some time, Red got a postcard that was sent by his old friend Andy, which meant that he had finally reached the beach in Mexico. Red was very happy to see this, but at the same time, he was also missing his friend. After some time, Red had a parole interview again, but this time he did not try to please anyone. Rather, he expressed regret for his actions. Seeing his truthfulness and honesty, he was finally released on parole. After coming out of jail, he stayed in the same room where Brooks had once stayed. He stayed in the same shop where Brooks worked, and just like his friend, he was also not able to adjust to the outside world, and that is why he thought of going back to jail, but every time he remembered Andy. And that is why he reached the special place told by Andy, where he found some money in a box and also a way to reach Andy. Before going to his friend, Red wrote his name along with Brooks on the wall of that room, and leaving all his problems behind, Red also reached his friend. Do you have such a special friend in your life who supports you in every problem? Do tell us in the comments. See you in the next video. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Follow for more videos.